Good morning, students. Welcome to the Cost and Management Accounting Material Costing lecture. Today we are going to start with the material costing. So as you know, material costing is the very first element of cost that we come across, right? Yeah, good morning, everyone. So when we talk about material cost, what do you understand? Material cost means the raw material. Yes, Aditi, you raised your hand. Aditi, want to ask something?
No, ma'am. Actually, I just wanted to answer the question of material costing. That's why I
Sure,
raised
please
my.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, material costing is something in which the cost is related to the materials, like in on how much price we have collected the materials and what all cost we incurred, what all expenses we incurred to buy it or purchase that material. So it is related to that material.
Right. Material cost is related to how much raw material or how much cost that we have incurred in terms of the material that is used in any organization.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Vivek is saying on YouTube, this is playing as GST live video. Uh, that will be checked, Vivek. Okay. All right. So let us start with the basic concepts on material. When we talk about material costing, as a cost accountant, it is very important that we ensure that all costs are kept to the minimum. Though we are not saying that we should not incur cost, we should not compromise on quality, but we should effectively incur cost. So in material costing, there are two particular questions. One is how many units should we, how much or how many units of material should be bought or should be ordered at a time, right? At one time, what should be the units you should order? And the second important question is, when should you place the order? When should the order be placed? If these two questions are rightly answered, you will be very cost effective as far as material is concerned. So the first question is how many units of material should be ordered at one time? And the second question is what should the when should the order be placed? So the answer to first question lies in the concept of economic order quantity. How much should be the order placed? That is called the economic order quantity. So if we can rightly fix what is the economic order quantity, EOQ, we will be able to ensure that right amount of units are ordered at a time. Whereas when should the order be placed? That answer is given by reorder levels. That level is called as reorder level, when you should place the order. So think about an example. Let's take a very good example from the kitchen. How many units of particular ingredient do you order in the kitchen? When it comes to pulses, you ordered 1 kg, 2 kg at a time. But when it comes to the flour that we make chapatis from, we may order 5 kgs or 10 kgs. But when it comes to the small ingredients like your turmeric or chili powder, you just order 50, 100 grams, 200 grams. So why is it different? Why can't we order 10 kgs of chilies? Why can't we order uh, 2 kgs or 1 kg of flour? Why is it that the right quantity of that ingredient has been fixed by the mother or the housewives who've been working for so long? How do you determine that this is the right quantity of order that we should place? Even there are some ingredients which are ordered even still less. Yes, Aditi? Aditi, raise your hand again. Do you want to say something? Right. So it is based on use, how much is the usage, and from where are you procuring the order? Is it far off or is it nearby? So there are so many factors which influence this decision that how many units of material should be ordered at one time. Our second question is when should you place the order? So the right answer for this is what should be the reorder level. So it is not that when the things are completely finished or they're out of stock, that is the time you place the order. No. When they are just about to end, that is the time you will place the order. So you look at if the flour is about, like, say, half kg or 1 kg left, that is the time you place an order for another 10 kg. If the flour is just finished and then you going to place an order, it might be that you won't receive it by time and you might have to go empty stomach for a meal, right? So you have to make a decision that when should you place the order, right? So it's on the basis of consumption as per the requirement of the product, or yeah, for flour, the economic order quantity is more than it is for any other ingredient in the kitchen. So similarly, in the factories, organizations where manufacturing is done, the raw material order is placed. So the raw material order should be placed in such a way that the time it is just about to come, that is the time when you need it. So that much quantity should be ordered. And when should be ordered? So that by the time it is received, your work is not stopped. You are not struck. There's no stoppage of work because of the shortfall in the availability of raw material. So these are some of the important two questions which will make up for most of the chapter in this material costing. So let us discuss about the first concept here, which is EOQ, or economic order quantity. How do you determine economic order quantity? Right? So the first important information that we need to have is your usage. So generally you can call it your annual usage or whatever is the usage during the period for which you are going to calculate the economic order quantity. The second important factor which is important here is called the placing cost. The placing cost may also be called as ordering costs. These are the costs which you incur when you go and arrange for placing an order, when you buy a order. So when you place an order, what could be these costs? This could be your freight costs. This could be your loading or unloading cost of material, right? If there is anything which you do not understand, please let me know immediately. Okay. So freight cost, loading, unloading cost, the salary cost of the purchase department, the salary cost of employee who places the order. So these are some of the costs, but we are talking about the variable costs which are very much associated when you place an order. So these are some of the costs which you will incur or when you place an order, or the courier cost or the traveling cost, right? And there is another cost which is associated with this, that is storing cost. Storing costs may also be called as carrying costs or holding cost. So when you store raw material, when you order a lot of units altogether, they are required to be stored. You don't consume it just then. So you need to store them and keep them in proper position and safe. So what are the storing cost or carrying cost or holding cost? The most important it is of this is when you order raw material, you block your money. So the interest that you lose on the capital which is invested in the raw material, interest on capital investment. So if your raw material is very costly and you keep a lot of raw material units with you, lot of it, then the interest cost on that capital is your one of the storage or carrying cost. This is technically an opportunity cost, which is considered here. The same money could have been kept in your elsewhere in bank or somewhere where they could have generated some returns, but you have blocked it in the form of material with you. So therefore, you're losing interest on that. Another important element of the raw storing cost is the storage will always occupy some space. So the rent of the space where the raw material is kept. This is another important element of storage cost. Then it is also possible if you hold a lot of raw material, it might become obsolete, damaged, it may deteriorate, or it can be uh, lost also. So obsolete, damaged, destroyed, or deteriorated. Then you need some guard or godown keeper who's taking care of the warehouse keeper or godown keeper who's taking care of the raw material. So his salary is also a part of your storage cost, right? So these are some of the costs which are associated when you are storing the units. Annual usage, these will always be given in terms of rupees. So annual usage is given in terms of units. It may also be at times given in terms of rupees or amount. Remember, whatever the annual usage, if it is in kgs, your economic order quantity answers unit will also be kgs. If it is liters, it will also be liter. And if it is amount, let's say your annual usage is in the whole year 3 lakh rupees, then your economic order quantity would also be that let's just order at one time goods worth 20,000 rupees or so, for an example. Okay. So you have to take care whatever is the annual usage units, the same will be the answer for the economic order quantity units, right? Now, when these three things are given, we can calculate the economic order quantity. But before that, let us try to understand how these placing and storage costs behave. So placing cost means you're going to the market or you're going to place an order every time you need the units. Now let us take an example here. If I need throughout the year 12,000 units. So 12,000 units is my annual consumption. What is the option for me? How many units I can order? So there are multiple options here. Okay, those of you who want to ask questions and want to answer, and they'll have to put it in the chat window, right? 1,000 per month. Yeah, Lohit, yeah, that's for an example. So for example, you place an order for 1,000 units per month. If you place an order for 1,000 units per month, how many units, how many times you're going to place the order? Number of times? So let's denote it with O. The number of times the order is placed, let's denote it with A, and let's denote it with C. So Rohit had said that if we place 1,000 units order, how many times are you going to place the order? Your usage is 12,000 and you are placing an order for 1,000 units, which implies that you are going to place 12 orders. You are going to place 12 orders, right? Isn't it possible that we may also place 500 units at a time? We can place an order for 500 units. In that case, A upon Q, 12,000 by 500. Your number of orders will increase to 24 orders. Or if you have placed an order for 6,000 units, the number of orders would have been only 2 orders. Every time you place an order, you have to incur a certain cost, let's say X rupees. So where will the placing cost be maximum? When you're placing 2 orders, 12 orders, or 24 orders. So this cost is associated with every time you place an order. So every time you place an order, the cost is incurred. So the cost will be maximum when you order 500 units, when you order 24 times, and the cost will be least when you order 6,000 units or when you give 2 orders only. So if I draw a graph where on the x-axis I place number of orders. So if I place only one order, when I place 12,000 units altogether, my cost incurred is less, let's say only X. But when I place 12 orders, the cost incurred is 12X. And if I place 24 orders, the cost incurred is 24X. So my cost incurred keeps on increasing with the number of orders, right? It might not be a linear function, but the cost ordered placing costs increase with the number of orders. However, if I had taken on the x-axis units ordered, so here as we have taken 500 and we could have gone to like 6,000, 12,000. So with 500 units, the placing cost was high, and with 6,000 units, the placing cost will come down, right? So your placing cost graph can rise when the x-axis has number of orders, but the placing cost will fall when the units ordered are given on the x-axis, 500,000. As the number of units ordered increase, the number of orders decrease. They have an inverse relation. Placing cost has a direct relation with the number of orders, but inverse relation with the units ordered, right? So the placing cost will keep on increasing as you keep on placing more and more orders. If I just place an order for 1 unit at a time, there will be 12,000 orders. and the placing cost will go very high. Just like placing cost, which goes more with the number of orders, the storing cost. Yes, Maithili, uh, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Why
Ma'am,
not
that graph
linear?
is
That
async.
graph feels like y is equal to mx plus
Yeah,
c. Yeah, it feels like y is equal to mx plus c. That's what I'm saying. It is not necessarily linear. It may be linear, it may not be. So that depends upon when you go for multiple orders. You are placing an order again and again. You may get successive discounts. You may get some other benefits if you are from the freight people or the loading people somewhere, right? That all things can impact the placing cost, right? Is it clear, Maithili? As of now, for theoretical purposes, we will keep it like this, linear here. Okay. Now, what about the storing
ma'am, one
cost?
second, explain. Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, one
yes.
second, ma'am. One
Okay,
second, explain this diagram, ma'am.
okay,
Both
sure,
diagram.
sure.
I can't
So,
understand. Yes, ma'am.
okay, okay. So what is happening is, this is clear. Your consumption is assumed to
Yes,
be
ma'am. This
12,000
one.
units, and how
Yes, ma'am.
many units you order can vary. So let's say someone said, like Lohit said, 1,000 units. So if we order 1,000 units, 12,000 units are to be ordered in a year, and you are ordering in a lot of
Mm,
1,000. So that means you're going to place
mm,
12 orders in a year, right?
yes,
If
ma'am.
you had ordered 500 units, you would have to place the order 24 times.
24. Yes, ma'am.
If you have given an order for 6,000 units, you would have given an order twice, two
Yes.
orders.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had ordered 12,000 units at a time, you would have ordered on 1st January
One
itself,
order
and
will
then it
be
would have continued throughout the year. So you would have ordered only once. Okay?
one time.
Right.
Yes. Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is what we mean when we place an order. So the lower the units ordered, the more the number of orders. And
Yes, ma'am.
placing cost is something which is associated with how many orders. Every time you place an order, you incur a cost of, let's say, X rupees. So for theoretical
Yes, ma'am.
purpose, here we are assuming it to be a linear function. So if it is X rupees, with 12 orders, it would be 12x. With 24 orders, it would be 24x. And with 2 orders, it would be 2x. Though theoretically, it may not theoretically, we are assuming it to be a linear, but it is possible that in real life, it may not behave linearly. For example, when you hire a person to transport goods to you, if you are going to ask him to do it only once, he may charge you at a different rate. But if you are a regular customer for him, if you're going to use his services for 5 times, 10 times in a month, he will give you a different quote. That's what I'm saying. So, but theoretically, we will
Yes,
here
ma'am.
assume it to be a linear function, right?
Yes, ma'am. Second diagram, what it will say, ma'am?
Okay. So here it
500
is. When
units.
I place it on the
Yes.
x-axis, so here I have taken it theoretically, it will go as a linear function. This also I could have drawn as a exactly linear function, but like practical purposes, it does not exactly behave like this. Okay. So it might be a little different from this.
Yes, ma'am.
There are higher concepts in mathematics
Well,
of limits and all. So because of that, so you can reduce some cost only to a limit, not beyond, right?
yes, ma'am. This diagram, for my understanding, this is under units or how many units we ordered. In that case, placing cost will be reduced. Correct, ma'am?
Right, right. So see, when you are placing order for only 500 unit, okay,
Yes.
indirectly, this means that you are going to place 24 orders. This corresponds to 24 orders.
Okay. In the y-axis, number of orders is there, correct, ma'am? Or
No,
cost?
cost.
Y-axis,
Y-axis is
cost.
cost both the time.
Okay.
Or x-axis is only what I have changed. So if on x-axis you have number of orders, placing cost increases with the number of orders. Whereas if on x-axis you have units ordered, the placing cost decreases as you place more units, order for more units. So see, 500 units correspond with 24 orders. 1000 units would correspond with 12 orders. 6000 units correspond with 2 orders, right?
Yes, ma'am, understood.
So
When
here
will we
have
yes, when will we order the 500 units? We need to pay higher cost.
number
Correct,
of
ma'am?
orders, because number of orders increase, your cost is high. Okay. So if
Yes,
on
yes, ma'am,
x-axis you will have
understood.
number of orders, the placing cost will increase. But if on x-axis you have units ordered, the placing cost will decrease. Okay. Is that clear now? Let's see how.
Understood, ma'am.
Hmm,
Got it,
okay.
ma'am.
Right. Thank you. Let's see now how storage cost will behave. So if I look at the storage cost, once again, if I have placed an order for 6,000 units, which means I'm going to use these 6,000 units, but storage cost will always be taken at average, right? So it will be assumed that throughout this period, you were holding 3,000 units. Why? Because if you are using 12,000 units in a year, we assume that the consumption is evenly done throughout the year. So your 6,000 units will fall to zero in 6 months, right? And then again, you will buy another 6,000 units, which will again fall to zero through consumption in another 6 months. So in this entire 6 months, on an average, there was a day when you were holding 6,000 units, and there was a day when you were holding near zero units, which you have consumed from 6,000 to zero. So on an average in this 6 months, you were holding 3,000 units. And on an average, once again, during the next 6 months period also, you were holding 3,000 units. So on an average, you have held 3,000 units throughout the year, right? So if you have ordered 6,000 units, on an average, you are going to hold 3,000 units throughout the year. If you have ordered 6,000, then it is 3,000 units. But if you had ordered 1,000 units, you would have placed an order for 1,000 units, which will fall to zero. Again, you will replenish your stocks to 1,000. So in this period, on an average, your consumption holding was 500 units from 1,000 to zero. This happened every 2 months, right? If you are placing order for 12,000 units in a year, and you are going to 12 orders. 12 orders every month means one order every month. Okay. Higher the number of orders, the higher will be the ordering cost, right? So if you are placing 1,000 units, that means you are going to place 12 orders, which means you are going to place orders every month. So every month, your average would be 500 units. So in first month, second month, so on. So indirectly, throughout the year, you will be having 500 units. How are we arriving at the average quantity? Okay, I'll take a simple example here. Let us take 1 month of 30 days. And let's say you are living is 1,000 rupees, for example. Of every month, first of the month, you withdraw 30,000 from your bank account to keep cash. On second of the month, the balance will be 29,000. On third of the month, the balance will be 28,000. Fourth, at the end of the fourth day, 27,000. So every day you are going to spend 1,000 uniformly. In this way, you keep on spending, and by 30th day, the balance will be zero, right? So if I take the average money you had on 1st and 30th, what is the average money in your pocket on 1st and 30th? 30,000 plus zero on 2 days. So what is the average money you had on the 2 days is 15,000. On 1st of the month and 30th of the month. Similarly, on second day you had 29,000 and on 29th day your balance was 1,000. So 29,000 plus 1,000. On an average, on both these dates, your average was on 2nd and 29th. Similarly, on 3rd and 28th. So if your consumption is evenly done throughout the period, so on an average, you have the average opening plus closing divided by 2, right? This is what we have been doing for our stocks and everything in the consumption pattern. So once again, 15,000. So whole month on an average, you were holding 15,000. On one day 30 and on one day 0. There was a day when you were holding 29 and there was a day when you were holding 1,000. So on an average, you were holding 15,000 units. So similarly, when you order 6,000 units, you will have to place 2 orders, which means every 6 months. So divide by 2, on an average, you will be holding 3,000 throughout the year. If you had given 1,000 units order, you would have placed 12 orders, 1 order every month. So every month your consumption, you started with 1,000, you ended with 0. So in the first month, your average was 500 units were hold. In the second month again, from 1,000 to 0, on an average, 500 units were held. Similarly, in all the 12 months, 500 units will be held. If you had placed an order for 4,000 units, that means you would have placed 3 orders in a year. So every order would have lasted for 4 months, roughly. So from 4,000 to 0, then again you replenish your stocks with 4,000, 4,000 to 0. Again you replenish, and this also lasts for last 4 months. So on an average, you will be holding 2,000. So one very important thing that we do for storage cost calculation is we assume that this is the average units held. So average units held is always Q by 2, half of the units ordered. One important point here is we are not talking about safety stock, which we will carry throughout the period. So it is that storage which we are ordering and using. It's not the buffer. So if you have kept 2,000 rupees somewhere in your pocket for emergency, that will not be average. That will be kept throughout. So we'll talk about this concept further again. Harshal is asking, balance example can explain. Balance example. Well example, what well example, what do you mean? Balance? The money example? Bank balance. Okay. So here I have asked you to withdraw money for your consumption from the bank. So let's say there is money lying in your bank, but your consumption, your spend is 30,000 every month with 1,000 rupees average per day. So you are uniformly using 1,000 rupees per day, but you don't keep the entire amount with you in your wallet. You withdraw every month on the first of the month 30,000 from the bank. So if you will withdraw 30,000 from the bank on first of the month and you keep on spending 1,000 every day, by the 30th of the month, your balance in your wallet would be zero. So before you start your next month, you would have spent the entire 30,000. So on first of the month and on 30th of the month, what was the average you were carrying? So on one day you had 30,000 and on one day you had zero. So on an average you had 15,000 rupees. So the average of first and 30th of the month is 15. Similarly, the average of the second day where you will be having 29,000 rupees and on 29th you will be having 1,000 rupees. So the average of second and 29th of the month would again be 15,000. The average of third day of the month and the 28th day of the month, where you will be having 28,000 and 2,000. Similarly, on 4th and 27th, the balances would be 27 and 3. Again, an average of 15,000. So this is how you can calculate that the average balance will remain same throughout the period, entire period, right? So similarly, when you have ordered 6,000 units, you will be kind of holding 3,000 units throughout the year. When you order 1,000 units, will be holding throughout the period 500 units. When you order 4,000 units, you will be holding 2,000 units per, for the entire period. For every 4 months, 4, 4, 4 thrice, you will be holding on an average 2,000 units. So I'll repeat this concept. When you order Q quantity, your storing costs are not calculated on quantity ordered. Storing or holding or carrying cost. You are not carrying the Q quantity throughout the period. You are on an average holding Q by 2 quantity throughout the period. Because from this quantity, you are consuming your units. Okay, right? So be sure that when you are calculating the storage cost is not calculated on the quantity order because we are going to consume from it. We have not brought it just to hold. So therefore, the storage cost is always calculated on an average quantity held, which is Q by 2, right? Now, if you are holding 3,000 units, will the storing cost be higher? Or if you are holding 500 units, will the storing cost be higher? So storing cost will be higher if you are holding 3,000 units. So that means they will be higher when you order higher units, right? So when you order 6,000 units and on an average you hold 3,000 units, the storing cost will be high, right? And when you are holding 500 units, on an average, you are holding only 250. Your storage costs will be less. So the storage costs will rise when on x-axis you have units ordered. This is exactly opposite of number of orders. With 6,000 units, you have only 2 orders. So your storage cost will be, the more the number of orders, your storage cost will fall. Okay. Great. So I hope you've understood now 2 very important aspects. I'm going to erase this example. We are talking about how many units. We are trying to figure out how many units should be ordered at a time. And for that, we have understood what is the cost related to ordering the units. So the material cost or the costs which are impacted are number one, placing cost, which is a direct function of how many times you place an order. So more the number of times you place an order, the placing costs or ordering costs are higher. The second important cost associated with deciding how many units should be ordered at a time is the storing cost. So placing cost and storing cost are the two important costs that we have to look for. Placing costs or ordering cost, they increase with number of orders. When units are less. So if there will be less units ordered, placing cost will be very high and number of orders will be more, so placing cost will be high. And the second cost, which behaves oppositely to the placing cost, is the storing, holding, or carrying cost. Storing cost increase with units ordered because then you have to hold more units. And decrease with less units are ordered. When number of units ordered are more, your storing cost or carrying cost will be high. But if your number of units ordered are less, they will decrease. With number of units ordered more, that means less orders. And less units ordered means more orders. So once again, be careful. What is it that is given? On the y-axis, there will always be cost. On the x-axis, you will might have either units ordered, how many units are ordered, or you might have number of orders. Placing cost will always increase with number of orders and storage cost will fall when number of orders are more. The same will be opposite here. When units ordered are more, storage cost will rise. And when units ordered are more, less number of orders, therefore placing costs will be less. So we have to strike a balance between the two. And where is that balance is struck? Generally, where the two costs are least. And they are least when the placing and storage cost meet. So total cost. Here, when I say total cost, this total cost does not depend on does not contain cost of material. It talks only about the relevant costs, and the relevant costs are storing costs and placing cost. These two costs are relevant to us, so it is talking only about storage and placing cost. Why raw material cost is not talked about here, or why is it irrelevant? Because if the raw material price is 100 rupee per unit And the shopkeeper says, if you want to buy 12,000 units, you need to pay 12,000 into 100, that is 12 lakh. Or if you want to buy 1,000 units, then also you need to pay 1,000 into 100, 1 lakh every time you place an order. So in the end, ultimately you're going to pay 12 lakh rupees to the shopkeeper. So the shopkeeper is not saying if you will give buy 12,000 units altogether, I'll not charge you 100, I'll charge you 98, 97. If he's not giving us any discounts, material cost is not relevant. No matter you go and buy 1 unit, then also you pay 100. And if you go and buy 12,000 units, then also you have to pay 100 per unit. So material cost remains irrelevant because total material cost will be 12 lakh rupees, no matter whether you buy 1 unit at a time or 12,000 units altogether. Continuing with the example. Okay. All right. Anyone who's noting, I'll give ample time here. I'll leave it the screen here so you can note down whatever I have mentioned here. Right? So far is this clear? You have costs on the y-axis, and on x-axis you can have number of units ordered, or you can have number of orders. Placing cost always rises with number of orders, and storage cost always rises with units ordered. Material cost is not relevant. That is not what we are discussing here because our relevant costs are storing and placing. The relevant our decision that we have to take, and what decision we have to take? How many units should be ordered at a time? And the raw material cost remains same whether you order 1 unit at a time or you order 12,000 units altogether. The raw material cost remains 100. Therefore, that becomes irrelevant in our decision, and we consider only the storing cost and placing cost. Storing cost with fall, which decrease with the number of units decreasing, and placing cost, which rises with the number of orders placed. The more the orders, more the placing cost. More the units, less the placing cost. More the units, storage cost will rise because holding those many units, the more the units you hold, your holding cost is high. So think about it. If you have got, you place an order and that's a, let's say, import order. Your raw material is not available locally. You have to get it from some other country. So what happens when you get a raw material from some other country? The placing costs are high because you're going to import them, right? So when you're going to place raw material cost from abroad somewhere when you are importing, the placing cost per order is very high. So you decide not to go on again and again to the foreign country or place an order in a foreign country. Then you make a decision that let's buy in bulk. You buy more quantity because the storing cost is not very difficult for you. It's difficult to get the order from abroad. So when placing costs are very high, our tendency is when placing cost and order, let's say in case of imports, is very high, we place order for more units. So we are ready to hold them, but we are not ready to place an order again and again. However, sometimes you must have seen that your raw material is very sensitive. It is to be kept in very concise situations on temperatures, or a lot of care is required for the raw material. Even it gets deteriorated very fast. So in that case, the storage costs become very high because you have to provide them special conditions. So when storage costs are very high, you prefer not to order very many units. You prefer to give less units are ordered because it is difficult to hold them. So you are okay with going and placing order again and again, but you are not ready to hold the units. Duty payment and freight is also not easy when you are importing goods. Either it is coming by ship and the lead time is also very high. It will come after very long time. So lead time is also high. So you are not taking any risk because if there is an emergency, you cannot get it within a moment. You try to keep more units with you to keep yourself safe, right? So this is what we are going to work on, placing cost and storing cost, and we'll see how these two important relevant costs impact our decision to order the quantity. Okay, I'll repeat quickly whatever we have done so far. Yes, Regan, you're absolutely right. Uh, we have discussed that material cost is the first element of cost, and if that decisions are taken effectively here, you can make your decisions wisely and you can be cost effective. And the two very important decisions when material is concerned is how many units should be ordered at a time. So if you bring 100 kgs of raw material or 100 kgs of floor in your house, in your kitchen, you have problem. You have problem like where to keep it. You have taken. Secondly, when you have to place the order. So the first decision, how many units should be ordered, is answered by the concept of economic order quantity, EOQ. And the second question we'll talk about later is reorder level. So economic order quantity can be represented by Q quantity order. Aditi, you raised your hand. I hope it is sorted. And if there's anything, please type in the chat window. So economic order quantity, EOQ, is annual usage, units or amount. Placing cost, O, what is the cost when you're placing an order every time, which includes freight costs, loading, unloading, keeping. Maybe there are some toll taxes, etc., duties, etc., when you might have to pay during every time you place an order. And storage cost is majorly a interest on capital. Maybe it is the rent of the space where keeping the material. You have to take care of the raw material that it does not get damaged, destroyed, or may not get obsolete. And you also have to ensure that the godown keeper or the guard keeps the stock safe. So if taken an example that if your annual consumption is 12,000 units, you can go for various decisions like you order 1,000 units, which means you're going to place an order 12 times a year. You may place order for 12,000 units at a go, which means you will order only once. You may place an order for 500 units, which means you may place order 24 times in a year. That means every 15 days. And if you order 6,000 units a year at a time, you order twice a year. That means after every 6 months. Placing and storage costs are impacted by these decisions. So if you draw a graph and you place x-axis on the number of orders on the x-axis, placing cost increases and storage cost decrease. But if the x-axis contains how many units you order, then with every increase in units, storage cost will show a rise and placing cost will show a decrease. Why I have shown you both? Because you may refer different books or things, so it could be both ways. And then very important thing is storage cost is always calculated on average number of units held. It is not like if you've ordered 6,000 units, you're not going to hold the 6,000 units for the entire period. On an average, you will be holding 3,000. So storage cost is always calculated on Q by 2 units. So for placing cost, indirectly our formula becomes, was our annual usage. This is the quantity we have ordered. So 12,000 upon 6,000, two orders multiplied by placing cost, P or ordering cost or placing cost. So this becomes your total placing cost. And for storage, Q by 2. Q is the quantity you ordered. On an average, you held Q by 2 units multiplied by cost of storing 1 unit for 1 year. This becomes the total storage cost. But our relevant costs are both storage plus placing. So we have to see where the total of the storage plus placing is least, and the point at which they match, they cut each other, that will be the point where your placing and storage cost will be minimum. So at economic order quantity, the total of placing cost plus is always equal to storage cost. Total placing cost should be equal to total storing cost. That is the right answer where we place an order. So if on the x-axis you have units ordered, it will tell you that these many units you should order at a time. And if on the axis you have number of orders, it will tell you we should place these number of orders in a year or in the period. Right? Any questions so far? Harshil, you've raised your hand. Aditi and Harshal have raised your hand. Please type in the chat window. What is the query? Okay, you've understood. Thank you, Harshal. Aditi, you can lower your hand then, Harshal. Okay, note.
Hello,
I
ma'am.
hope you have noted down everything. They'll be shared
Actually,
with you.
actually, I have noted that everything, but my question is what the notes are available for after a completion of the chapter.
I have uploaded the assignment simultaneously. You can see there. So we'll be discussing those questions and you can note down the answers for that. You will be having the complete data.
Actually, I
Don't
will
worry.
write it, ma'am, with you. When you are teaching, I will write the examples related to the economic quantity cost, and the
Mhm.
second is the placing and the storage related uh, formulas.
Okay.
Is it important for practical questions? Means
It is
banking.
most important. Right. It is important.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Clear.
Right. So now we will learn and try to understand the concept using some questions here. X Limited is committed to supply 24,000 bearings per annum to Y Limited on a steady basis. So here, Y Limited has to take a decision. How many units should be ordered at a time? It is estimated that it will cost 10 paisa as inventory holding cost per bearing per month. So if you hold one bearing, it's going to cost you 10 paisa per month. Holding cost or S or carrying cost. And the setup cost per run of bearing manufacture is 324. So this is like your placing cost. So every time you set up or you place a order, placing costs are 324 per order or per run. And storage cost is 10 paisa per bearing per month. What should be the optimum run size for the bearing manufacturer? So here, your usage is annual usage. Okay. What would be the optimum run size for the bearing manufacturer? So let's first talk about this. We have three important information. Annual usage is 24,000. Storage cost per unit per annum, because this is per annum. So find out the storage cost per annum. Had this been 24,000 bearings per month, we would have stick to 10 paisa per unit. But this is consumption is per annum and the storage cost is given per month. So if it is 10 paisa per month, how much does it become annually? Placing cost that is given here, placing or ordering cost. Which is 324. So these are the three relevant information for us. Annual usage is 24,000. Storage cost is 1.20 per bearing per annum. And placing cost or run cost is 324. So let us try to do this using a tabular method first. In this table, what we will do is let us see the behavior. Let's say number of orders. And I'll keep on increasing 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, so on. The second is units ordered. Placing cost. Storage cost. And the total relevant cost. So, how many units do we require annually? 24,000. Storage cost is 1.20 per unit per annum. And placing cost is 324. So if I place only one order, how many units I'm going to order? 24,000. And what's the placing cost? Placing cost would be one time only. So 324. But what would be the storage cost? When I am ordering 24,000 units, on an average, I am holding 12,000 units and it is costing me 1.20 per unit. So 12,000 into 1.2. 14,400. Let us say I place two orders. If I place twice the order for 24,000 units, how many units I'm going to order at a time? 12,000. So I'm going to place the order two times. My total placing cost will be 324 into 2. It will be 648 rupees, right? But what would be my storage cost? 6,000 units I will hold on an average. Why 6,000? 12,000 divided by 2. And 6,000 into 1.2, 7,200. So you can see as the number of order increased, placing cost increased and storage cost reduced significantly. Here my total cost would be 14,400 plus 324. It is the 14,724, which has significantly reduced to 7,848, right? Agree? If I place 4 orders, why did not I take 3? I could have taken 3 also, but I am seeing that it is reducing. So if you want to take, you can take 3 orders also, but let's say 4 orders in a year. So 24,000 divided by 4. Okay, how do you calculate the units order? Annual divide by number of orders. This will give you the quantity ordered. So 24,000 divided by 4, you're going to place 6,000 units order. This will be 1296, 324 into 4. And if you are going to place order for 6,000 units, on an average, you are going to hold only 3,000 units, and 3,000 units into 1.2, 3,600. Your total cost has again come down. It has now become 4,896. What if I place 5 orders? I'm going to place orders for 4,800 units. 24,000 divided by 5. Okay. 4,800 units and 5 orders means 324 into 5. You can see the placing cost keeps on increasing with number of orders or with fall in units ordered. So if 4,800 units are ordered, on an average, I'm going to hold 2,400 units and 2,400 into 1.20. This will be 2,880. Total 2,880 plus 1,600, 20. So you can see that it has still fallen. If I place 6 orders, 4,000 units will be ordered. 324 into 6, 1944, and 2,000 you can see the total cost is continuously falling, and it will keep on falling until and unless these two figures become same. So this is rising, this is falling. So we can go ahead further. 6,000, 8,000, 8 units, 8 orders, sorry. When you place order 8 orders, 24,000 divided by 8, 3,000 units you will order. 324 into 8, and 1,500 into 1.2. Two 582 and 1,800. So now you will see this has increased. Right? Sorry, 9. So earlier it was 4,344, now it is 4,392. So you will see that the total cost will keep on increasing up to a point, and then it again starts increasing. So the number of orders placed is somewhere between 6 and 8. Maybe it could be 7 also. That will give us fraction. So maybe that could be the answer. So this is how you calculate what should be the number of units ordered or how many orders you should place. So somewhere in between we will get the answer, which the table is not showing. Let me try here for 7. So 24,000 divided by 7. So this is giving me some fraction. Now, theoretically, you can take the fraction, but actually you may say that it is not possible to order fractional units. So maybe you will order 3429 units. Can you please explain once again why we're talking divide by 2? Okay, Heyman, I will. 4896. Okay, 3600, 1622. Fine. Ma'am, can you explain the storage cost calculation in this table? I'll do that again. Yeah, and practically also this truly happens. So firstly, two questions have been posed here. Number one, why are we dividing the storage cost by 2? So again, if I have ordered 10,000 units to consume, I am not going to hold it throughout the period with me. So what is the purpose of ordering units if you are not going to consume? So I'm going to consume it uniformly throughout the period. That's an assumption and a limitation of economic order quantity. So I assume uniform consumption. So if I keep on doing uniform consumption, there will come a time when this 10,000 units will become 0, exactly 0. So what will happen? They would be averaged. So on an average, you will have 5,000 units. Okay. So I hope this is clear. Why do we average storage cost 10,000 plus 0 by 2? Firstly. Secondly, just have a look at it and I'll explain to you how we have calculated the storage cost. Give me a moment. Right? Now, what is the second question? How we have calculated storage cost? In this particular question, it is saying the storage cost is 10 paisa as inventory holding cost per bearing per month. The period for which we are calculating the EOQ is per annum. So there will be 12 months in a year, 10 paisa into 12. So the storage cost comes out to be 1.20 per annum. Repeat what, Vivek? I'm repeating the entire thing. So is this clear that we have annual usage 24,000 bearings? The storage cost is 10 paisa per unit per month. So 10 into 12 will become 120 paisa or 1.20 rupee per unit per annum. And the placing cost is 324. So let's start doing this, increasing the number of orders gradually. So if I had placed only one order and my annual usage is 24,000 units, I would order the entire 24,000 units in one go, right? Decimal round off is compulsory here. At least, you see, you cannot order half unit, right? So 24,000 divided by 7 is 3428.57. So you can make it 3428 or 3429. Can you order 0.57 units? It doesn't make any sense. You don't want to break your unit, you want it, so you will round it off to the perfect number of units. So you have placed 7 orders. You will order 3429 units, and you should always round it off to the next number. Bearing in this question means units. We have divided 24,000 by 2. Yes, we have divided 24,000 by 2 because if you are ordering 24,000 units in one go, on an average, you will be holding 12,000 units. So 24,000 divided by 2 is 12,000, and 12,000 into 1.20 is 14,400. Similarly, I have divided 12,000 by 2, which I have not shown here, so it's 6,000. Similarly, if you will see what will happen is, let's say you place 2 orders. Let's say this is your year from 1st January till 31st December, in which you will be consuming 24,000 bearings or units. So if you are going to place 2 orders, here you will place 12,000 units, and you will keep on consuming it in the 6 months, 2,000 units every month, and you will get 0 units. Somewhere here you will place an order so that by the time you are consuming from here, you receive these units. So exactly here, when you receive the units, you again are on 6,000. Once again, you keep on consuming for the next 6 months, 2,000 bearings every month. And once again, you fall to 0. So what was the 12,000? What was an average in this 6 months you held? 12,000 plus 0 divided by 2, 6,000. And in the next 6 months, 12,000 plus 0 divided by 2, 6,000. So this means throughout the period you have held 6,000 units. At any particular day, on an average, you have held 6,000 units. I will share with you the study material also from where you can have this understanding. Yeah, the lowest cost is at how many units? 6 units. And then we saw that at 7, 8 units it has increased. So maybe your answer could also be 7. I could not have avoided, I had avoided it initially for fractional, but maybe 3429 will give you the best answer. So if you are going to place an order for 3429 units, your placing cost would be 324 into 7. Okay. 324 into 7 is 2268. And you would have held on an average 3429 divided by 2 on an average. These many units would be held in store into 1.2. 3429 divided by 2, that's 1714 into 0.5 into 1.2. So this is again 2057. And when you will add this 2057 and 2268, 4325. It is even less than this. Why did not we get an exact same answer? Because T24 into 7 is 2268 and 34 to 8.57. So this will also be approximately same, but just because we have rounded off, they would not be exact same. There will be slight difference. Okay. 24,000 divided by 7. Going to place 3428 orders. On an average, you are going to hold 1714 units and into 1.2, 2057. So 2057 plus 2268 is 4324 point something or 4325. So this is the least. So how many units are we going to order? 3429, or how many orders we are going to place? 7 orders. I'm not going to put a break. I can stop for a moment if you want. Okay. We can take a 2 minutes pause. In the meantime, you can note it down. And if you have any questions, you may ask. When you are doing it in a tabular method, you might get some difference here. Okay. But then this is the best decision. We should place 7 orders in a year and order 3429 or 3430 units. Then when we calculating the storage cost, we should take the whole number, round off the units. Yeah, units should be rounded off because theoretically it to 8.57 units, but it is not possible to order physically. Apart from that, we have taken 7 orders. Maybe the answer is not from 7 orders. The number of orders can also be fractional then, theoretically. Then because at EOQ, the ordering and storage cost should be exactly same. Here they are not. So that means maybe this is also not the right quantity, but just because we could not take fractional number of orders from, it's definitely somewhere between 6 and 8, but it is 7 is the rounded number here. So it's either 6 orders, 7 orders, 8 orders practically. But it is possible that maybe we have 6.2 orders or 6.3 orders, then we get these two exactly equal. Okay. But if you will do it in a table form, and if you will use number of orders on the very first column, maybe you don't get this exact answer, but you will get a practical answer for this, which is place 7 orders and place 3429 units so that your total cost is least 4325. And why did I ignore initially 7? Because I did not think 7 would be the answer. Somewhere around 7 would be the answer. So I was skipping it, maybe 10, 11, 12. But when I realized that till 6 orders, the number total cost was decreasing. And after the 6th order, on 8th order, it again increased. So that means the answer lied somewhere between 6 to 8 orders. Now, if we talk about practically, only 7 is the number. 7 orders can be placed. So that is the answer. We will also use formula, and I'll explain to you the formula through which we will calculate this. Then you will see that maybe theoretically it is not, possible, not practically, but maybe that will give you the exact answer. Maithila, you can type in the chat window, Maithili. Unable to speak. What is the query? So I hope this is clear. The same question we will also do through a formula. Storage cost is always divided by 2. Yes, we have, like I said, when you order a certain number of quantity, it is not that you keep it throughout with you for a period. You use it uniformly. So on an average, the storage cost is always calculated on half the units. 3429 units. Storage cost is 2057.4, but storing. So we are not storing in fraction. On an average, we are calculating 3429 divided by 2. And 1714.5 units is average, that's okay. That is theoretically and even practically possible because this is the limitation or assumption of EOQ. This is an assumption that we are consuming uniformly throughout the period. So when you are consuming uniformly throughout the period, 1 unit which you start consuming, at some point of time, it is also half consumed. Okay. There are many assumptions of EOQ, which is also their limitation. One, we assume that there will be uniform consumption throughout the period. We also assume that the supplies will also be uniform throughout the period, right? There will not be any problem. We will be able to get the supplier anytime that we want. We also assume that there will be no increase in prices of raw material, no change, no inflation, isn't it? So if EOQ is, let's say, 3,000 units, but if I come to know that from the next month, the prices of the commodity will be doubled, do I still stick on to EOQ? No. I will hoard. I will buy in bulk so that I may not have to pay more price in future. So these are some of the limitations and assumptions of EOQ. Okay. Now we said that the total placing cost. How do we calculate the total placing costs? It's always given by annual usage divided by quantity ordered into cost of placing an order. Placing cost per order. So if you apply this formula, this is what we have done in the previous illustration. 24,000 number of orders is 1. So here we have calculated quantity ordered by A divided by number of orders. So if 24,000 divided by 1, 1 order. 1 order into 324. 12,000 divided by 24,000 divided by 12,000, 2 orders. Then 2 orders into 324. But here we have taken the number of orders, so we have calculated the quantity ordered. Okay. Total placing cost is clear. Number of orders, first column into 324. Storage cost, column 2, divide by 2 into cost of storing 1 unit for 1 year. And total cost, this is column 3 plus column 4. So total placing costs are given by annual usage divided by how many quantity you order. That gives us number of orders. And number of orders multiplied by cost per order is your total placing cost. And total storage cost is average number of units stored, Q, by 2, and 2 cost of storing per 1 unit for 1 year, per unit per annum. And the total cost related to our decision is total placing cost plus total storing cost. And we have to strike a balance so that this total cost is minimum. So for all those of you who are good in mathematics or have done the mathematics completely, we will follow the concept of differentiating with respect to the quantity order and finding the minima. So when you do that, the quantity order is given by under root 2 into annual usage into cost of placing an order or ordering cost divided by S, storage cost. So whatever we have done through table here, we could have also done using the formula 2 into 24,000, 2 into A into cost of placing an order is 324, divide by 1.2 under the root. So what do you get this as answer? This is your EOQ. 2 into 24,000, right? Into 324, divide by 1.2 and under the root. We will use calculators for this, and the answer comes out to be 3,600 units. So that will be the most appropriate answer. How many units should be ordered at a particular point in time? 3,600 units. Now let's work up this table backwards. If 3,600 units are ordered, how many orders you will place? 24,000 divided by 3,600. So that's practically not possible, but you will order 6.666 orders. So when you will place 6.666 orders, 6.66 orders into 324, .2. So the most appropriate least cost would be 4,320. Okay. But then again, theoretically, you can say that you have placed 6.66 orders, but practically it is not possible to place 6.6. So for practical purposes, it is 7 orders, which is costing us 4,325. Theoretically, it is 6.66 orders, which is costing us 4,320. Right. So if you go by formula, economic order quantity, the economic order quantity is 3,600 units per order. But like I said, it is not possible to place 6.66 orders. So if you're solving EOQ questions like this, you can always say that the answer to this question is 3,600 units. 2 into 24,000 into cost of placing an order is 324, and cost of storing 1 unit for 1 year is 1.20 and under the root. So you will place 3,600 units, that's answer. Though it says, it implies that you are going to place 6.66 orders. So after having calculated and done this question like this, you can always say that though theoretically it is not, practically it is not possible to place 6.66 orders, but that is the answer. We should, how many units we should order at a time is 3,600. Although it's only costing you 5 rupees extra, right? This was 4320 and this is 4320 and 25. So it's only 5 rupees extra, but then that's the answer, right? So you can see that at EOQ, placing cost and storage cost is exactly equal. You can also find the total of placing and storage cost using this formula. 2 into A into P into S. Instead of P, you can also use O. Instead of A, you can also mark it as U, usage. Instead of S, you can also call it C as carrying cost. So 2 into 24,000 into 324 into 1.2 under the root. When you will solve this, you should get 4320. I'm sure all of you are using calculator simultaneously. If not, then please, that is advised. Always remember to mark your units. If the annual usage was given in kgs, I would not have said 3,600 units. I would have said 3,600 kgs. If the annual usage was of 24,000 rupees, I would have ended up saying 3,600 rupees order should be placed at a time. Okay. So whatever the A is given in form, 24,000 bearings. So our answer is how many units should be ordered? 3,600 bearings should be ordered at a time. And 6.66 orders. So practically it is not possible to place 6.66 order. Right. Total cost is 4320. So even this way you can work backwards also. Like if you are said that the EOQ, at EOQ, the total cost is 10,000. So you can immediately say that the placing cost is 5,000 and storage cost is also 5,000. You can half the total cost because at EOQ, the placing and storage costs are always equal. Right? Then why we do the tabular method? If anyone is interested, you can try this out. And if you have any doubts, we can take in the next class. Try to differentiate quantity ordered with respect to the equation of A by Q into P plus Q by 2 into S. So differentiate this equation of total cost with respect to Q. So you will have minus AP upon Q square plus S by 2. Okay. So then you will take the LCM would be 2 APS AP upon So 2q square would be, we will take the 2q square there, 2q square minus sq square is equal to 2ap, q square common, and when you will solve this, you will find out that this is what you will get, 2ap, and s will come as denominator, and under root because we want to find out q. Okay, so give it a try. If you have any issues with relation to this, we can take up in the next session. This is how you find out the equation y EOQ is equal to under root 2a into p upon s. Okay, right. Now some more important things. One, how to calculate the storage cost. So sometimes it may not be directly given to you. Like in this question, it was given 10 paisa per month. Okay, Y table method is used. Order 6.6. How did I calculate 6.6? 24,000 units were required to be ordered, and we were ordering 3,600 units at one time. So that's why it is 6.6. Arpita is saying I didn't get it. The yes, for the differentiation part, I would want you to try it out, differentiate it with respect to Q, and then take the second derivative and put it equal to first, check whether you have negative or positive, and then you will see whether if you have negative, that means at that point it will be maximum, but the second derivative will be positive, so we will negative positive, so that means if you put it equal to 0, you will get the minimum cost at this point. So give it a try. I'll explain in the next class. Okay. 6.6 is clear? Why 6.6? Okay. Last, I would like to tell you that how to calculate the storage cost. So to calculate the storage cost, it is very important that either it can be given directly. Let's say first would be the best part would be it is given directly. That the storage cost is ₹1 per unit per period. Let's say if the period is 1 year, so per annum. So storage cost is ₹1 per unit per annum. This is the simplest way it can be given. Second, storage cost, like it was given here, ₹0.10 per unit per month. So what did you do? You simply multiplied 0.10 by 12. Third, you can also be given that the storage cost is 10% of the raw material price. So in this case, we need to know what is the price of the raw material. So let's say the raw material was 1 rupee. Then 10% of 1 rupee will be 10 paisa. So first we will find out the raw material price, and 1 rupee, let's say if it is 1 rupee, then it is 10 paisa. If it is 100 rupees, then it will be 10 rupees. Okay. So if the storage cost is expressed as a percentage of the raw material price, one other information that we need to know is what is the raw material price? 24,000 rupees. Okay, the total raw material price would be 24,000 rupees. But storage cost as a fraction or as a function of raw material price. Okay. Apart from this, there is another important way in which the storage cost can be taken. I'm going to erase this part, assumptions part here. Take a note of it, I am sure. Okay. So if the storage cost is given as interest cost 6%, rent 1 rupee, insurance premium, you also insure your raw material. So you need to pay insurance premium for that. Let's say that is 0.20. And raw material price is 80 rupees. So how will you calculate the storage cost per unit per annum? We will have to add up the three components, and as interest cost is given as percentage, so 6% will be applied on 80. So 4.8 plus 1 plus 0.20. So the storage cost is rupee 6 per unit per annum. Okay. So you be sure placing cost would be generally given very directly, but storage cost may be given as a component of different uh, parts of the storage cost, the interest, the rent, the insurance premium, the godown keepers care and take all that stuff, taking care of that. So you have to add up the all components to find out the storage cost per unit per annum. So this is how you calculate the storage cost, right? Now to the next question you've asked in the chat window, why do we use the tabular form? So we use the tabular form, for example, if this raw material price was 5 rupee per unit. Okay. So there is one more cost which might become relevant, and that is the material cost. Why will the material cost become relevant here? The vendor says that if you buy the complete 24,000 units altogether, I'm going to give you a 10% discount. Then these 24,000 units in totality will not cost us at the rate of 5 rupees, they'll cost us at 4.50. Why? 5 minus 10% discount. Supposing he says that if you buy 12,000 units or more than 10,000 units but less than 20,000 units, I am going to give you 5% discount. So then these 12,000 units in two lots, that means the total of 24,000 units in two lots will cost us 5 minus 5% discount. So they will cost us 4.75. If he says that you buy 6,000 units, if you buy anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 units, I'm going to give you a discount of 2%. Then we will buy 24,000 units 4 times, 6,000 into 4, and then each unit will cost us 5 minus 2% discount. So 5 minus 2% is 4.90. So then the total cost will not be a total of third and fourth column. We will have to add another relevant cost, the fifth column, material cost. And then we will see that exactly at which point is the total cost least. So we have to consider the material cost also. Another way of asking this question is, let's say you decided on 3,600 units. The vendor says 3,600 or 6.66 orders is too much for me to handle. Why don't you place an order for 4 times in a year? Why don't you order every quarter? So if you order every quarter, the vendor wants you to order every quarter. So why would you do that? Because here it's costing you 4,320, but if you will place 4 orders, it will cost you 4,896, right? So the vendor says that please place 4 orders only, don't place 6.66 or 7 orders. You say, okay, but that is going to cost us how much more? 4,896 minus 4,320. So 675. You are going to end up paying 576 rupees extra. So if that is what the vendor says, he wants you to place 4 orders, then you ask him that you have to give us at least 576 rupees discount. So if the vendor, very good, 576 discount, if that discount is offered to us, not 576, at least 576. So if the vendor says, okay, I'm ready to give you a discount of 600, you tell him, okay, we are also ready to place 4 orders in a year and we will order for 6,000 units now, not 3,600. If the vendor has said, please pick up all your lot in one go, then we would have said, then you please offer us something around 10,404 rupees as discount. We need at least this much discount. At least. Why? Because in EOQ, our cost was 4,320. But if we give one order only, it will cost us 14,724. So why? Because of the vendor's convenience, why should we bear this extra cost of 14,724? Why should we bear this 10,404 extra? So this discount the vendor will have to pass us if he really wants us to give one order only. If he wants us to pick the entire lot in one go, he needs to offer us a discount of 10,404 at least. Okay, so now you understand why table is important. One, if there is successive discounts, you can solve it using tabular method. Second, if he's asking you how many orders should be placed, how much discount should the vendor pass so that we are ready to place 1 order or 2 orders, then you have to compare the cost it is going to give us if we place 1 order or 2 orders or 3 orders and compare to EOQ. So whatever the extra cost we have to bear because we are going to order more units, at least that much discount we expect from the vendor if he wants us to do that. Right? Though there is a small technicality in this, because see, how do you calculate the storage cost? In the previous question, we calculated the storage cost as 24,000 units. On an average, 12,000 units. Let's say the raw material was costing us 1.20. Right? But if the storage cost was 10% of the raw material price, then in that case, the storage cost will also be calculated a little differently. Okay, we'll look at the next question and then you will be able to see. Have a look at this. The purchase department of your organization has received an offer of quantity discounts on its order of material as under. So what is he saying? If you will order anything less than 500, the price per unit will be 1,400. If you order anything between 500 to 1,000, we'll give you the raw material at 1,380. So there are successive discounts. As the number of units keeps on increasing, the price of the raw material keeps on decreasing. If you order 2,000 and more, but less than 3,000, he will charge you 1,340. And if you place an order of 3,000 or above, he will charge you 1,320. So there are successive discounts. Further, the annual requirement of the material is 5,000 tons. Delivery cost is 1,200. Annual stock holding cost is 20% of the average inventory. So that's the problem here. How did we calculate the storage cost earlier? It was simply quantity ordered divided by 2 into storage cost that was given. Why it was so? Because storage cost was a function of raw material price majorly. It's interest on capital blocked, and the raw material price remained constant. But in this case, how we will calculate? So let's say if I order 5,000 units, right? Then the raw material price is going to be 1320. So my total investment will be 5,000 into 1320. This will be my total investment. 5,000 units ordered, place, one go. What would be my average investment? 5,000 into 1320 divided by 2. So on an average, this will be my investment, right? 5,000 into 1320 by 2. And what will be the storage cost then? 5,000 into 1320 divided by 2 multiplied by 20%. Okay. This is how the storage cost will be calculated. Alternatively, you could have done 20% of 1320. %20 of 1340. That's not 66, 264. 20% of 1340, 268. 20% of 1360, 20% of 1380, and 20% of 1400. So the storage cost will always also change with the change in raw material price. Okay, you are all giving the answers. Great. How are you calculating so rapidly? With time, you will also. Okay, that's just because of practice. So these are the storage costs, 20% of all. Now you see, if I order something less than 500, so let's say units ordered less than 500, I'll take a figure of 400. So if I order 400 units, 400 into 1400 is my total investment at a time. 400 into 1400 divided by 2 is my average investment at a time. Okay. In this period, when this 400 units will last, into 20% of that. So if you will calculate this, how much will it be? You can do the calculations as options of questions. 56,000. 200 and less than 3,000 tons is right. Okay. We will do that. Okay. So how much will it come out to be? $56,000. Check out yourself. 1,400 into 400. That's 5,60,000 is your average investment, total investment. Divide by 2. Your average investment is 2,80,000, and 20% of that is 56,000. Right? If you had directly calculated 400 by 2 into 280, you would have got the same answer. Similarly, anything from 500 to 1,000. So let's say I order 500 units. In case I order 500 units, I'm going to get it for 1,380. That is my total investment. Divide by 2, average investment, and 20% of that. So if I have already calculated 20% of 1,380 here, which is 276, so it's the same thing as 500 divided by 2 into 276, right? So this is how you calculate the storage cost. It may not directly be given every time. It might have to be calculated at times. So here in this question, your annual usage is 5,000 tons. Storage cost is 20% of the inventory cost. So that would be of raw material. And the delivery cost per order is 1,200. Cost of placing an order is 1,200. So we will use the tabular method here because we have successive discounts also. And we will not start with 1 order, 2 order, 3 order. We will start from quantity here because we'll take some figure less than 500, then 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Purchase quantity options to be considered are also given here. If it is not given, otherwise also it makes sense to take any figure less than 500. Then at exactly the lowest figure at which we are getting the discount. So 500, because 500 and less, 1,000 and less, 2,000, 3,000. So we'll take these figures, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. This will be given in the question generally, because that is how I think it will help you to capture the essence or to ensure that all the students take same options here. So the purchase department wants you to consider the following purchase options and advise which among them will be the most economical ordering quantity, presenting the relevant information in a tabular form, right? Look at the question again. So you have successive discounts and 1,400, 1,380, 1,360, 1,340, and 1,320. And total units to be ordered are 5,000. So let's start with the table method. I'll use this quantity ordered. This is column 1, Q. So I'll take 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Number of orders. Annual consumption divided by quantity. That means 5,000 divided by 400. Okay. Here, I will mention that for theoretical purposes, I am allowing the fraction. 5,000 divided by 500, 5,000 divided by 1,000, 5,000 divided by 2,000, and 5,000 divided by 3,000, 1.66 or 1.67. Price of the raw material, I'll make another column. Because there are successive discounts, At 400, it is costing me 1400, 1380 per ton, 1360, 1340, and 1320. First column, placing cost. What was the formula? Number of orders multiplied by cost of placing one order. And cost of placing one order is given as 1200. Ten into 1200, 5 into 1200, 2.5 into 1200, and 1.66 or 1.67 into 1200. Round off to 2 decimals. Right. $12.5 into 1200, 15,000. 12,000, 6,000, 3,000, 2,000. This is the cost of placing an order. Now, storage cost will be a little tricky here. Like I said, it is a function of as a percentage of the raw material price. So 400 units is what I'm going to order. 400 into 1400 is going to be my investment. On an average, 400 into 1400 by 2 is my average investment. And 20% of this is my cost. 500 into 1380 is my investment at a time. On an average, into 20%. 1000 into 1360 divide by 2 average investment into 20%. 2000 into 1340 into 20%. And 3000 into 1320 divide by 2 into 20%. Right, you're giving me the figures, good. So 1400 into 400 divide by 2 into 20%. 56,000. $69,000. 1000 into 1360 into 0.2, 1,36,000. So you see, it did not exactly double. You are holding double units. So 69,000 into 2 should be around 138,000, but it is 136,000. Why you got a because of the discount, the storage cost did not double exactly. Then 2,000 into 1340 into 0.2 divided by 2, 2,68,000. So it didn't become 2,672, it is 2,68,000. And 3,000 into 1320 into 0.2 divided by 2. That will also give you 3,96,000. So these are your storage costs. And you can once again see that the storage cost keeps on increasing when the units ordered increased, whereas the placing cost drops. But one more cost we will consider here, which is the material cost. Even if you are buying 400 units at a time, but ultimately you need to buy the entire 5,000 units, 5,000 tons. So your raw material cost will always be on 5,000 tons. You will not calculate on 1,000, okay? And raw material cost also becomes relevant. Yeah. So the total cost that comes out to be is 15,000 plus 56,000 plus 5,000 into 1,400. This is 70 lakhs. So 70 lakhs, 56,000 or plus 15. So 70 lakhs, 71,000. 5,000 into 1380, which is 69 lakhs, plus 12,000 and 69,000. So this is 69 lakhs, 81,000. Next, 5,000 into 1360, 68 lakhs, plus 1,36,000, plus 6,000. This is still less, 69,42,000. This will be 68 lakhs plus 2,68,000, 70,68,000, 70,71,000 again. And this will be 67 lakh plus 3,96,000, 70,96,000, 70,98,000. So where do we have the best or the least cost? Here. So our answer is we should place order for 1,000 units at a time. And our total relevant cost will be least here. Which is rupees 69,42,000. Rather, you can say 1,000 tons. Okay, so this is how you're going to manage the question. Right. So the material cost was decreasing every time by 100,000, 1 lakhs. 70 lakhs, 69 lakhs, 68, 67, 66, one. Sorry, this is then 69 lakhs, 71,000. And this is 69,98,000. but still this is the least, right? Yeah, I've changed that. Any questions so far? Can we proceed on to the next? All right. Before I move further, if everyone has understood this, just give a thumbs up. Why are we multiplying units into price to calculate storage? I will explain, Arpita. If everyone is understanding, please give a thumbs up so that I know that there's no one who's left behind. So why are the storage cost a function? I've just told you here. In this question, the storage cost is given as 20%. So whenever the storage cost is given as a percentage, it is a right, Arpita? What is the 1360, 272, 20% of 1340, 268, and 20% of 1320, which is 264. Okay, only 12 or 13 of you are understanding. What about others? I hope all of you are understanding whatever we have done. You've understood it thoroughly. And when you will revise through your study material from ICAI, you will be able to recall and will be able to work through the examples. Okay, right. So storage cost here are not given like 2 rupee, 5 rupee, or 280 rupee, 276 rupee. They are given as a percentage of the raw material price. So first we have to apply it on the raw material price. We get a figure and then we can go ahead with our usual way. Less than 500, let's say 400 units ordered. On an average, 400 by 2 and into 280. Less 500 to 1000, let's say 500 units ordered, 500 by 2, 250 units on an average into 276. 1000 units ordered, 1000 by 2, 1000 by 2 into 272, right? Alternatively, instead of calculating the 20% on raw material price separately and then applying the storage cost per unit per year to the average units held, I could have straight away, so this part is same as this. This corresponds. Instead of 280, what I have done? 1400 into 20%. Raw material price into 20%. So either I can keep calculate it separately, else I can use it overall in the formula itself, that what is my total storage cost? Units ordered multiplied by price per unit. This becomes my total investment. This is your total investment. When you divide it by 2, you get your average investment. And multiply by the storage cost percentage. You get the total storing cost per annum. Storing or holding cost per annum. Okay. So if raw material storage cost is given as a percentage form, not in absolute form, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 10 rupee, 100 rupee, then what you have to do is you have to Either you can go in one shot, 400 by 2 into 1400 into 20%, 500 by 2 into 1380 into 20%, or else you can first apply the 20% on the raw material price to find out the cost of holding 1 unit for 1 year. So once you calculate 280, 276, 272, you can straight away go with the same procedure that we have followed so far. Cost of units ordered divided by 2, average units ordered held into 2, into the storage cost. Any doubt or any question from here, please ask. Otherwise, we can continue. Okay, before I wrap up, I'll quickly brush up the entire concepts. So here today we have discussed about economic order quantity. Another important question in material is reorder levels. So we have to calculate what is the economic order quantity. That means what is that quantity where our relevant costs are least. And what are our relevant costs? With quantity ordered, what changes is average cost. Placing cost means how much does it cost to get the raw material from the market, loading, unloading, ordering, uh, cost of the salesperson cost of the person who's placing an order, salary, etc. And storage cost is a function of interest on capital investment, rent of the space, care and taking care of the raw material, ensuring that it does not get damaged, destroyed, or deteriorate. But it still does. So obsolescence and all these costs are part of the storage cost. So as an example, we have seen that if you place the placing cost, the more the number of orders you place, the placing cost increases. But as the number of orders increase, the units ordered decrease, because of which the storage cost decreases. If you place the units ordered, the storage and placing cost curve behaves oppositely. We have to strike a balance. We have to find that point where the total cost, placing plus storage, is least. So the storage and placing is least where the two meet. And that is the number of units you should order or number of orders you should place. So if you take an example, we can do it tabular based. What you do is you start with the number of orders. And because your annual usage in this example is 24,000 units, so if you place one order, you're going to order 24,000 units. But because you have placed one order, your placing cost is only one time, 1 into 324, 324. But your storage cost will be very high because you have ordered the entire 24,000 units in one go. So 24,000 divided by 2 into storage cost of 1 unit for 1 year. In the question, it was 10 paisa per month. So we have multiplied it to 1.2 rupee per annum. Right? And then raw material cost was irrelevant. In this way, as we increase the number of orders, quantity ordered kept on decreasing. Placing cost keeps on increasing, multiplied by number of orders, 324 into number of orders. And storage cost kept on decreasing because lesser number of units were ordered. So therefore, on an average, less number of units were held. And the total cost came out to be least when 7 orders were given in the table. However, if the same thing was done using the formula, our answer would have been 6.66 orders, and we were supposed to order 3,600 units. And you can see at exactly 3,600 units, the placing and storage cost is exactly equal to 160. Though with 7 orders, we have 5 rupees extra, which we have to pay. Right? So this was the formula under root 2 into A into P upon S. You can say it under root 2 into A into O upon S, or you can say 2 into A into O upon C, whatever it is. But first time when you're using the formula, whatever the notations you are using, please give the reason where A is equal to annual usage, P is placing, and S is cost of storing 1 unit for 1 year. Okay? So this is how you will calculate the economic order quantity using formula. As in homework, I had told you, if you want, you can try to work up the formula, differentiate with respect to Q and calculate the double derivative and put the first derivative equal to 0. The total cost is also given by this formula, 2 APS. So 34320 is what we got. If you will half it, you will know the total storage cost and the total placing cost because they are always equal at EOQ. Then we discussed that there should be another column on material if there is discounts on material, because then the material cost also becomes relevant. So this is what we did. Another question, 5,000 tons were required. Delivery cost was 1,200. And here the storage cost is not given as 20 rupee, 10 rupee per annum. It's given 20% of the average inventory. So either you can calculate 20% of all these prices and go ahead as usual. Else you can directly do that total units ordered multiplied by the price total investment, divide by 2, average investment, and average investment multiplied by the storage cost percentage. Once again, if you have discounts, you will need table and you will have to add up placing cost, storage cost, plus material cost to find out the total cost, and where the total cost will be least, that is your decision. So here we are going to place order for 1,000 tons, which means we are going to place 5 orders. Agree? Is it clear? So thank you so much. That's all from my side from today, for today. If you have any queries, you may please ask in the chat window. Please put in the chat window if you have any questions or queries. And for those of you who have not given a like, or if you are not you are comfortable with the way of style and teaching, if you have understood everything, please give a thumbs up for those of you who have not. Yeah, thank you, Surinder. Yeah, clear. Thank you, Ajay. Right. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Karan, Harshal, Sushmita. Thank you, Nikunj. Thank you, Meenu. Thank you, Harshal. You're asking for homework. Homework is nothing. As such, you can just revise the concepts. Thank you, Shamila. If you have any queries, you can post it and I'll take from there also. You can post it in the portal. Thank you, Suniti, Sri Kumar. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mithila. Right. So you can also paste your queries in the portal. I will take from there also. And if there is anything else, you can let me know. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. We'll meet day after tomorrow. So continue with this. Vivek Mandal, this is not the question for me to answer. Okay. You will get the complete information. Thank you, everyone. So we can end the session by Saturday. Next session will be on Saturday, Surinder, not tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, we are done. Thank you. Good day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good day. Bye.